Sunday anchor Shannon Bream, also in her red way to represent. One more thing from Pam Bondi. This is about the crackdown against sanctuary cities.
What they're doing is they are choosing illegal aliens over the safety and security of their own citizens and the men and women of law enforcement who are out there trying to protect their citizens. Not only did we sue today the city of Chicago, we sued the state of Illinois, we sued the mayor, we sued the governor, and we sued others. And let me be very clear, if you don't comply with federal law, you're going to be next.
Shannon, how will the city of Chicago handle all of that firepower?
Well, Dana, as you know, they've been very defiant. And what they've heard from is their local citizens who say, why in the world are you prioritizing other folks in this community who came here without the proper legal means over us when our communities are suffering, they're dying, they're struggling. So you've got the feds now. He's got his local folks. Mayor Brandon Johnson is going to have his hands full. I think the interesting thing is, as you heard there from the Attorney General, they're going to go after funding streams. But again, the possibility that local and state officials themselves could get in trouble, legal trouble. If you will remember the original executive orders from President Trump, they talked about this, cutting not only the funding streams, but possibly civil and criminal actions against people that they believe are impeding or actively stopping ICE from doing its federal enforcement job.
You know, Shannon, I want to ask you about the state attorneys general issuing this new statement on their lawsuit about DOJ access to sensitive personal information. This seems to be becoming a bigger and bigger, fighting point for Democrats. In that statement, it reads, this level of access for unauthorized individuals is unlawful, unprecedented, and unacceptable. DOJ has no authority to access this information which they explicitly sought in order to block critical payments that millions of Americans rely on. We will be filing a lawsuit to stop this injustice. So there's 13 states that are vowing to file lawsuits. We've got a list of them. Is it just this, or is this just a sign of the times and a growing number of Democrats who are just trying to fight Trump's agenda?
Yeah, and I think that's what they're going to do. They say the fight is now in the courts because that's where they're going to have to go for every single one of these things that filters out from the executive branch. Remember, too, the executive order that created DOJ actually took an entity that already existed, the United States Digital Service Office, and they just retooled it. So those who are supporting DOJ say, listen, the underlying legal framework for this entity already existed. The president has repurposed it to this DOJ mission. But you do have lawsuits from federal employees, their unions. You've got it now coming apparently from these attorneys general as well. It is going to be a legal all hands on deck battle over all this executive action because, of course, much easier to flood the zone with that than it is to get things done legislatively on the Hill that take a lot more time and in most cases some level of bipartisanship and cooperation.
Shannon, I don't know if you can see this, but let me describe something that's happening live to you right now. There are about a dozen lawmakers, Democrats, attempting to get a meeting with the acting education secretary. This comes as President Trump has said the Department of Education, it might be something where Secretary McMahon, if she's confirmed, would get herself out of a job. And also you had the former Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, writing yesterday in the Free Press. She thinks the Department of Education should be eliminated. This is one of those things where they're probably not going to get access to this building, but the Democrats are flummoxed as to how to deal with this, Shannon.
Yeah, Dana, I think you're right. We see them showing up and protesting outside of a number of buildings, or actually, as we saw on Capitol Hill yesterday, I think it was, actually forcing themselves and their way into a meeting that they wanted to be a part of. And I think right now they feel like chaos is the strategy. I think that was the line that was in Playbook maybe this morning, talking about the fact that they know that they're going to be overwhelmed with all of these actions, all the things that they, are trying to get a hold of. They're showing up. We've seen protests. We've seen we're at war. We've seen them say, take this to the streets. It does feel like the Democrats are kind of back on their heels trying to get control of the messaging, much less the substance of all these different things that are happening, Dana.
And I think the one congressman I can make out there is taking the photograph right now. I believe that's Maxwell Frost, and they're talking to a security guard. So let me just turn it back over, to Sandra to ask you another question as we watch these Democrats who, I guess it's performative art in a way, Sandra, to try to make a point.
Absolutely. You notice the camera's up, and you're noting Maxwell Frost, the congressman from Florida, in the picture there. Apparently, this is a security guard. But Shannon, obviously, this is just further signs of what is to come. I spoke with Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, yesterday, and asked her about the president's intentions with the Department of Education. You know, they're not detailing exactly where they're going with this, but there has been a lot of talk about dismantling it altogether or reworking it, but we just don't know, and that uncertainty leads to a lot of this.
It does. And conservatives have been talking about this for a long time, that they feel like states are much better equipped to handle the education system. It's closer to the parents, it's closer to the people that are directly involved, the students as well. So it's one of those agencies that has been targeted by conservatives to say this doesn't need to be this federal behemoth that has all of this money, when states and localities and local school districts know much more about what their students need. They are much more accountable to the parents who show up at these meetings, which we've seen the last few years, to demand answers and accountability for their kids. So not surprising that there would be this conversation about taking this away from the federal level and sending it back to local and state. But I think ideally for conservatives, they want it as local as possible. And that means a threat to the federal agency that now exists.
Shannon, let's try to see if we can hear anything going on.
On your own behalf, were you told to come out here and block members of Congress?
They know that we're here. Max, ask the question again. That's the important.
Were you told, are you making this decision to stand in front of this door on your own behalf, on behalf of the Department of Education, or were you told to come out here and block members of Congress and go at the desk?
Doing my job.
So everybody's freelancing.
What is that?
We're doing our jobs.
We're trying to save your
jobs.
It's non-responsive.
Show them your ID. Were you told to stand here, or did you decide to stand here and block members of Congress from entering the Department of Education?
To federal buildings.
Use the security
members of Congress.
We're allowed in there.
So a private security contractor
Do you know who members of Congress are?
members of
We're all members of Congress.
Maybe he doesn't understand. Do you
A private
understand who
security
members of Congress
contractor
are?
is making the decision to block members of Congress from a public access entrance.
I don't think he knows.
You have the
who-
authority
what
as a
Congress
private
is
security
or what we do.
contractor to block members of Congress. That has been knighted and granted to you.
You have to at least let us go to the desk.
Yeah.
Sending the guns out.
As many
Oh
decorations you
my,
want.
look at
Nothing's going
that.
to change.
Who told you to do this? Open the door.
I see your name.
So do you understand who members of Congress
I
are?
got it, yeah.
Well,
And you don't
who
care.
are we then?
I got the job to do.
You don't care.
We have a job to do.
We're not dangerous people. We're not, I don't know, security. There are no thieves and thugs out here. We're members of Congress. We're
With
parents,
identification.
we're teachers.
Each of us.
There's our ID, right there.
We were elected to do this.
This is our
I've
job.
never seen one of those.
Our job. We're doing our job.
Oh wow.
You're securing this building against who?
Members of Congress.
Who is it? Who are you
The people.
protecting in
Against
there?
members of the people's
So
house
this
who
is the
represent the
beginning of
people.
full transparency of this administration.
That's right.
The administration that talked about they're going to open the doors to all of these things and show the American public what is going on. They won't
Transparency.
even open the door to this building
That's
to
Go to the
members of
visitor's
Congress.
desk.
Or
We are
anyone.
not posing any threat here.
Not
No, we are not
whatsoever.
dangerous people. We have not done
won't even
anything.
let us
We're
talk to the
trying to
Department of
request a
Education.
meeting, and they won't. They have a private security contractor who on his own is making decisions on behalf of the Department of Education.
We are
So
members of
Congressman
Congress.
Hayes,
At the
what you're
all
saying is they're
access
not,
entrance.
they allow billionaires and his minions to come in
I don't
to
know
this
who
building.
he is. I don't know who he is, but I know who I
they
am.
allow-
And I'm a member of Congress with oversight responsibilities trying to request a meeting, and a private security contractor is not allowing me to enter the building.
They allow billionaires to go into this
at the
building, but not the
all-access
people's representatives. They
The
allow
all-access
billionaires and their
entrance.
cronies to go in, but not, there's a lack of transparency here. The members of Congress, the people's representatives are not allowed in. This is not transparency.
They're locking our kids out. Well, not only are they not letting us in, now they've called the Department of Homeland Security. We are members of Congress here to talk with the Department of Education, and they're treating us.
Kids deserve to have us
Yes,
go in and fight for
absolutely.
them.
This is appalling.
Children of this country deserve that battle.
This is a public institution. This is not Russia.
Let the camera see him. Let the camera see him. This man here.
We are members of Congress.
Come in.
They're
and
blocking
I want you
us.
to see this man here who is a federal employee, he told us.
No, he's not.
Are you a federal employee?
No.
Huh?
Yes.
No, he said he's a federal employee. We pay him. We raise money to make sure that we have a Department of Education. Everybody that's hired at the Department of Education are here because we pay for them to be here. He's standing here today, blocking the door, and he can't give us a good reason why he's blocking this door.
Make sure they see right here, all access entrance.
Well, and I think it should be clear to parents in the United States, if you want to advocate on behalf of your children, you are not allowed to come into this building where you pay taxes. Parents who have children who are disabled, access is being blocked. You voted for members of Congress to advocate on behalf of your children. Children with disabilities, for young women who have been victims of sexual assault in our classrooms, on our school grounds. Members of OCR are fighting for your children. We are not allowed in the building to talk to them. We are not allowed to advocate on behalf of America's children. America, we have a problem.
Now, everybody stand back.
All right, so this is the Department of Education. You've got members of Congress from the Democratic side of the aisle trying to get in the building. You have a security guard who never wanted to be on television today, basically doing his job and denying them access. It is interesting that Fox News is the only one covering this live, and apparently this is what the Democrats want, right? They want to be on television. That's Maxine Waters complaining, Sandra, that they can't get in the building. And then you had other members of Congress saying that if you want to get in and fight for your children, you're not allowed. But we had some news this week that would make it sound like that's a little bit too late, guys.
Our nation's report card was shocking. The report card showed 7 out of 10 fourth graders are not proficient readers, Dana, a number that has worsened since the last report card in 2022. Worse, the numbers haven't improved in 3 decades. We're seeing the same thing for the middle schoolers at the 8th grade level. Less than a third of American students enter high school with the reading and comprehension skills that they need at that point in their lives. I mean, you talk about not getting access to the building, you're hearing from these folks, to go advocate for the kids. Well, what have they done lately, right? That report card has not improved. In fact, our nation's report card has worsened. There's a huge problem with the public school system in this country, and it has been failing our nation's children.
Shannon Breen, let's bring you in as Maxine Waters continues to berate the security guard.
Yeah, and listen, this is a great optic for Democrats who will want to use this and go out. You're going to see this stuff everywhere, probably. They've already got their teams rolling on it. And certainly this is what you do in Washington. There's the messaging and the optics of this, too. But I would point back to how many GOP lawmakers just earlier this week, Senator Joni Ernst said every time she tried to get answers from USAID, and I'm not saying she showed up physically, she may have, but every time that members of Congress try to get information from a federal agency, there can be an issue. She talked about that. Talked to Senator Chuck Grassley, who has sent subpoenas and requests for information all over to federal agencies, to the DOJ, to all kinds of places, only to be told basically talk to the hand and not get the information. So this is a physical showing up and not getting to where you want to go, but you may get the optics that you want. But Republican members on the Hill will tell you many, many times they've tried to get information from federal agencies, maybe not in a physical sense, but very much in a way that they claim they also have access to information and have been told, no, you're not getting it, or met with silence.
Wow. Yeah, we put the report card on the screen. You see the red arrows. That is the decline in the performance of our nation's children in math and reading in grades 4 and 8. But you obviously are looking at Democrats as part of this agenda that has been laid out, trying to obstruct. We don't know what the exact plans are, right, Shannon? The White House has still not been clear where they're going to go with this, but they are certainly highlighting this as a serious problem in this country. We don't know exactly what is happening here. We're not told exactly why this person's not letting them into the building, but certainly he said, we heard him say a moment ago, he's doing his job, so he's been asked to do this. But Shannon, maybe we'll get some clarity soon on this.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to me if they did go into the building, what would happen next? I mean, I think that they want to make a protest. They want to ask questions about what's going to happen, but I'm not sure what would be accomplished if they did go inside. There's not a confirmed Department of Education secretary. As you said, we don't know what the policy is going to be moving forward, but we know there's serious questions about how the department is functioning, what it's been focusing on, where it's been spending its money, and what that says in contrast to how states and localities may be better equipped to handle it. At least that's the argument from conservatives.
Shannon Brame, thanks for hanging with us. Linda McMahon is President Trump's nominee to head the Department of Education. That confirmation hearing will take place next Thursday, February 13th. And I guess Maxine Waters is just going to stay out there. We're going to take a quick break.